Welcome once again to Around the Conference. I'm your host, Paul Scovella, and it's certainly a privilege for us to have you join us once again on our program. Today we're talking community services. We know that there are many hundreds, yea, thousands of persons within our community who are in dire straits day after day, in need of help and assistance. And God has called us as a church and as a people to be able to help to meet the needs of individuals. Joining me on the program today is our Community Services Director, Pastor Craig Williams. Pastor Williams, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Pastor Craig, you've been passionate from the time I met you about helping others. I remember you sitting with me at a conversation one time talking about your experience with your father back in Bermuda and his passion to help, and somehow I guess that has been transmitted to you. What motivates you in this area when you, as a pastor, when you think about the area of community services? What is the undergirding principle or philosophy by which you live?
Well, Pastor Scavalla, first of all, I'm glad you mentioned my father, and I'm very surprised that you remember that. You remembered that, and yes. He had a ministry of a soup ministry, and we got up 5 o'clock in the morning. So, first of all, my father set an awesome example of doing community deeds and reaching people in the community. But since I've been here in the conference as the coordinator for community service, it's a text I'd like to share with the body, those out there in television land and yourself. It's Matthew 9:35 through 38, and the subtitle of the passage is The Compassion of Jesus.
Okay.
The Compassion of Jesus, and it reads as follows. Then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among people. But when he saw the multitudes, it says he was moved with compassion for them because they were weary and scattered like sheep having no shepherd. I can stop there and I continue reading, but the picture is when sheep have no shepherd, they are wandering, and oftentimes it's in the hills. And sheep find themselves among thorns. They find themselves, their feet often get trapped in the rocks. So here we have sheep that's fair. Their coats are bloody, they're mangled, and oftentimes they even break their legs. So when a sheep doesn't have a shepherd, when humanity doesn't have the shepherd, Jesus Christ, we find ourselves in unfortunate circumstances and unfortunate conditions. And the compassion of Jesus is what every Christian should have in their hearts and their souls, right? In order that will inspire people to want to meet the needs of those who are less fortunate than themselves. Compassion of Christ.
Yeah. You know, and this is what the church is all about, because when we look at this example of Jesus, while he was preaching the gospel, his eyes were also focused on their weariness, their health needs, that which they were having to do without. So much so that we would have seen him on at least 2 occasions before he would even get to the preaching part of his ministry. He actually engaged them in being fed. And so this would seem to be a fundamental function of the Christian church, would you say? And so I like this text. I like this text. As we look at the needs of the community, how do we meet those needs? What are some of the ingredients that are important for us to meet those needs?
Well, Pastor Scavalla, I'm going to tell you For me, I've had a lot of challenges in my life. Okay, but this challenge is the most it's the most awesome challenge, and it's probably the greatest challenge for me, because the question is, do we have the capacity to meet all the needs of the community? It is extremely overwhelming when I think about my job. Okay, now
What makes it overwhelming?
what makes it overwhelming is that oftentimes I find myself inundated when people find out this ministry that is under the umbrella of the conference.
Right.
Then you have people coming from left and right with all kinds of needs, medical needs. I have single mothers come calling about they're not meeting their responsibilities and paying rents and groceries, and when school comes around, children don't have food to eat. Some are in our nation, we have children only eating one meal a day, and often going to school with their bellies empty. So, and not to mention when any catastrophic event occurs, it takes it to a whole new level, because now the funds have to be diverted, and the need is even more tremendous when we have individuals who are without food, and without water, without shelter, and then we have damaged properties. So my hands are tied, and what's really painful is when you have to turn somebody away because you just don't have the capacity to meet their need. And I always said I wish I had a hotel so I could house everybody who loses their job and they're being thrown out on the streets. It is painful, and it speaks to the compassion of Christ.
Right.
He tended to people's needs.
So you would say then that as I listen to you, undergirding all of that is the commodity of money.
We read in the Bible, they hired Judas. They needed an accountant. They need someone to raise money to keep the gospel and the ministry going. And liken unto the gospel, it takes money for us to reach people, to be able to have the supplies that we need, to be able to have the food that we need. We have to be ready on rainy days. Every day we got to be ready to meet needs of people, and the needs are. When you think that you have all the resources, it's only then we find out that there's something else that is so significant that has impact people that we haven't even thought about. Okay, wow, where are we going to get that from?
Right.
So and we talked about this here recently. We have members and people in the community whose houses have burnt down. We have people who still suffering from storm damage, and as I said. We play a critical role in disaster relief.
Right.
Okay, and so a lot of the funds that we have get allocated to storms. As a matter of fact, Pastor Scavella, we have a budget, but we can't just spend all the money on the budget, because we have a storm season. We got to save for a rainy day,
Right.
and that can go anywhere from August right up until December. We can get hit with a storm. And we have to be prepared to reach people in their point of need.
Now, what programs does the church have that assist us with raising some of these monies
Okay.
for relief efforts?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Right now, we have a program called Ingathering, which is a program that is part of the tradition of our church.
Right.
Worldwide, it's Ingathering. And right now, we are trying to raise money through the Ingathering process. I can share with the audience. This is the brochure. It's a very colorful brochure. And the brochure, it reflects inside the brochure just some of the work that we have done throughout the South Bahamas Conference. We have the Ingathering will benefit education of our young people, because we have many of our young people who can't afford to even meet their tuition needs in schools. They need supplies, and also the school needs assistance, right? So the Ingathering funds will go between community service and education. Okay, and this is the large part of our budget comes from in-gathering. So there's a great appeal. There's a tremendous appeal to raise money because we want to be able to meet people all throughout the year. You know, as I said, we have just recently we have folks that don't have insurance, Pastor Scavala, who have to fly off for emergencies.
Yes.
And we have to try to find the money, sometimes thousands of dollars for people to get on the surgical table.
Right.
So, we have to really make that appeal. And so from now right up until January, February, March of next year, we can be collecting funds that's going to go toward meeting the needs of the people for the up and coming year 2018.
Now, who all are involved in collecting these funds? Because there are so many, should I say, scammers.
Okay. Yes.
In the community. How would the community and the public be assured or have a level of comfort when it comes to these funds, and how can they give? Can they give through the local churches? Can they give directly to the conference office? What
Yes.
process
Yes.
is used in
Yes.
this regard?
Well, first of all, we do a local appeal to the church. We give out these items such as the brochures. We also have these official authorization cards,
Okay.
which are certified through the conference. Also the letters, which are signed by yourself, the president, with a seal on there, and also the executive secretary.
Okay.
And these are the things that are authentic, to prevent people from taking advantage, right? The church and its members will go out to solicit those in the neighborhoods and also in the businesses. So we have all these items going out into businesses, and the business could respond directly to the conference. We're not asking people to write checks out to any personal names,
Right.
but to the South Bahamas Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Matter of fact, we even have a delivery system where it could be delivered to the conference just to assure that your funds do get there in the right place.
We want to thank, the public over the years who have supported us
Tremendously.
in these efforts, and we look forward to your continued support as we, during this time of the year, ask the public to help us in this regard. I'm glad you talked about all of that, because it's very important, especially in now our days today. And we're going to take a break at this point. And on the other side of the program, you have some exciting ideas about how we could further develop these concepts
Yes.
within our community. And so we want you to stay tuned. And remember, we'll be right back, so don't touch that remote. Welcome once again to this segment of Around the Conference, and we're certainly delighted that you've decided to stay with us. We're in a conversation with Pastor Craig Williams, our Community Services Coordinator here at the South Bahamas Conference. Welcome back to this segment,
Thanks
Pastor
again.
Williams. We were just talking about in-gathering and the impact that it supports efforts in helping to impact the community in service. As we develop this whole concept, I was hearing you share some new ideas about how you feel the church should move as we seek to further impact our communities. You were talking about a food pantry. Share with us a little bit some of your ideas and some of the strategic plans that you have to move this matter of community service in a direction that will embrace new ideas.
Well, Pastor Scavala, the food pantry idea came from the fact that we've had like maybe 3 or 4 storms since I've been in the community service department. And one of the greatest challenges was a need to respond immediately. Okay? And rather than waiting for funds to come in and ordering food items or any type of items from overseas to get the best buck for your money, so to speak, it may take months but people need a response immediately. Okay? So the idea of a food pantry was brought to my heart, and it's something that is practiced all over the world, matter of fact. A food pantry, the idea is that 7 years of plenty, 7 years of family. Think about Joseph, right?
Okay.
It's to store food, okay, for a rainy day. I'm sure our mothers when we were small, save for a rainy day. Well, it's not just about money, but it's also about supplies and needs. So the idea is to collect food items, non-perishable goods from the local churches, not just the Adventist church, any church that wants to give, and also from businesses that want to, corporate businesses or entities that want to give, supermarkets that have goods that are either damaged, canned goods that may be damaged, to give to the food pantry. And the concept is that the local Adventist churches will come to the food pantry to go shopping. They will come to the pantry and they'll come shopping, and then they'll go to their communities when they identify specific needs. And there are also specific needs that come in church, like we talked about earlier. A sister whose house burnt down.
Yes,
okay?
just recently.
She may need some food items, okay? But we are able to respond immediately. And you can imagine the fulfillment and the to be able to accomplish that task, to respond right away to people the same day. So the idea is to collect goods around the clock. So we'll always be fit to respond in that regard. But it's not a food bank where people come, where anybody can come off the street to get food, but it's a pantry where churches could come and shop. Of course, just with the names and the needs. No money is exchanged. Just come and shop, and then you can deliver the food to the needs of your church or your community.
All right. I'm glad you mentioned the matter of the community, because I was going to ask you the question: is this reserved just for Adventists in terms of who can benefit from this food pantry? But through the church organization, who would probably be more familiar with the needs of the community, be able to come to the food pantry. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Pastor Scavella, the church is the community, and the community is the church.
All right.
Right? So I don't separate the two.
Okay.
Right? But yes, it is an opportunity where a lot of our churches, the smallest churches which have limited resources, now it's an equal playing field with the big churches, because they're all shopping from the same location.
Now, another idea that you discussed with me is the matter of the thrift store.
Yes.
What's the concept of that?
Well, my desire is for us as South Bahamas Conference to have its first thrift store. Now, the concept is this here, right? Once a year, the only way that we really collect funds for the new year coming up is through ingathering,
Right.
as we had talked about. The thrift store concept is that church members, okay, for example, Pastor Cavalli, you may want to get a new bedroom set for your wonderful wife. And what you can do with the old one? Okay, well, you bring the old one to the thrift store and we'll sell it. Now, depending on where your membership is, for you it may be Centerville, I'm not sure where your membership is, we would give maybe 50% of whatever we sell your bedroom set for to your community service department at your church, which will go to helping those in need. Okay, so for example, if I want to get new appliances, I want to get some stainless steel appliances, so to speak, right? Then while you bring your appliances to the thrift store, you identify with those who are running the thrift store what your church is, and then we will respond when we sell it. So we sell it for $500, then half of that will go to your church, and then the other half will stay in the thrift store and to keep it running and keep it going, and also investing.
Now, what if I'm not a member of one of the local Adventist churches, but I want to contribute to the thrift store?
Not a problem. You would know for sure that 100% of your earnings, okay, will be going. And so what we'll do, Pastor Scavella, that we'll make sure that people know where the money's going, okay? We'll have a list of, if it's storm relief, it's an education, we will, and for example, fundraising endeavors, people who are trying to raise money, we often see out in the beach areas, and people have medical fundraisers where they sell dinners and stuff like that. Then we will actually post weekly where a large quantity of the money that is collected, or items that are sold, the money that's collected will go toward for that week. So people will be able to identify specific needs in their giving, and it'll give people more passion to want to give when they see where the money's going.
I think this is significant because, in times past, the gathering was for a specific time once a year. And, there weren't as many needs back then as we have today. And so you need a constant source of funds coming in to be able to help on a regular basis, rather than just relying on the one activity per year. And I know there's also something in the local churches called the Samaritan's Purse.
Yes, the Samaritan's Purse.
Where the local churches are able to help the community that they serve as well. And so these are exciting. Of course, from an administrative point of view, how do you see, or do you see these initiatives beginning to become realized in the near future?
Yeah, near future, 2018.
2018.
In my strategic plan that
Okay.
has been shared with you and has to go through, I guess has to be approved. That is my plan. As a matter of fact, Pastor Scavella, in our logos, there is an advertisement in our logos, and it's been there for the past 3 weeks. We're actually searching for a location. And our appeal is that if there are members, or if there are people who are part of the community, if they have a warehouse that is empty, that is sitting there, not being used, and we could even fix it up a little bit, that we are looking for a location. And I want to encourage those people out there who want to donate, or want to give, or want to rent their facility to house such a great endeavor such as this, impacting this nation in regards to meeting the needs of people. We want to ask them to call the conference at 341-4021. We want to hear from you, because we want to get this going in 2018 January.
Okay, very good. So community services continues to make an impact here in our nation. Does the community service department interact with any of our government agencies in helping? And how do we network with others in this regard?
Yes, we have. We have a response. The response arm of any catastrophic events. The government has an arm, and matter of fact, we have the first we have monthly meetings where we meet to discuss innovative ways and improving on ways to respond in every sense of the word. Response to the human need, the medical need. It's a great challenge. This island nation with over 360,000 people, we have to be able to respond to the human needs. We see the issues in Puerto Rico, where a lack of response and the pain and suffering, even deaths, Pastor Scavella, that occur as a result of a lack of response. So yes, the church has a constantly communicating with the government agencies, and even some agencies overseas in regards to responding and having preparations and to response. Education also. Yes.
The on a daily basis, I see you sometimes, almost as it was scratching your head because of the overwhelmingness of the challenges and the
Right.
requests
Right.
that are coming in to the department. Just recently, we had a member of one of our churches, I think it was the Message of Hope Church, who lost her entire home. And
Wow, yes.
so we're making an appeal to the community, to our members, and to the wider community, that if you'd like to help, as we seek to help her to restore that home. One of the first aspects of that is the cleaning up of the rubble that was left from the destruction of that home. And so the community, I'm sure, will be hearing more from you in this regard.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of homes are uninsured, and homes that are uninsured, it is on a massive scale, it is almost impossible for a family to be able to come back from that, to be
Yes.
able to have the money there sitting to be able to deal with the damages of their home. So what we do, Pastor Scavala, is, and this is what the Adventist churches are really good at in regards to individual churches and membership, is that the churches respond very quickly. And then the conference will come behind that and respond on top of the churches. Okay, and that's just what we do. That's part of our ministry. That's what we do, and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, let's end where we started with your favorite text in this regard, or your foundational text. Here in Matthew 9:35-38, it says, "Then Jesus went about all of the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people." One of the new phrases that has become a part of my vocabulary is the power of with. The power of with. And we see this here with Jesus, where he went to them. He went to their synagogues, he went to their cities, and he was with them, you know. And I think that's what community service is all about, being with the people. And so I want to congratulate you for the tremendous work that you're doing. And I sense a greater energy to help to make a difference.
Yes.
And we just want to pray that God would mushroom and blossom these efforts, and that little will become much when we place it in the Master's hands.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
To our friends who have been watching us, we just want to thank you. And I just want to appeal to you that as you sit there, you might be in a position where you can make a difference. As we mentioned earlier, there's a lady who is without a house with her children as we speak. And the first phase of helping the church would like to help her to clean up all the rubble and move it and cart it away, which cost. And then to rebuild. And I'm happy to say that folk have already begun to make contributions in the rebuilding process. And so whatever you can do to help this lady as well as others, feel free to contact us here at the South Bahamas Conference during our gathering time and make a contribution to this and other needs within our community. And so we just thank you for being with us. Remember that whatever we do for others is what counts, because we're then being like Jesus. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Around the Conference.